Just stop whatever you're doing right now and pay attention to this, because what you're about to hear is going to completely rewire the way you see every person you've ever tried to help. You've been doing it wrong, not because you're careless, not because you don't care enough, but because nobody, not your parents, not your teachers, not anyone ever told you the real reason people ignore advice. And until you understand it, you will keep repeating the same painful cycle over and over again. Stop giving your best to people who aren't ready to receive it. Stop exhausting yourself explaining what seems so obvious. Stop taking it personally every time someone nods, says you're right, and then walks straight into the exact mistake you warned them about. Because here's what nobody tells you. Their silence isn't ignorance. Their resistance isn't stupidity. There is something happening beneath the surface. A hidden psychological force so powerful, it overrides logic, overrides love, and overrides even the clearest advice in the world. And once you see what it is, everything changes. You gave them the best advice of your life. You laid it all out clearly, carefully, from a place of genuine love. They nodded. They said, "I hear you." They looked you dead in the eye and told you they understood. And then they did the exact opposite. Now you're sitting there wondering what is wrong with them. Was it something you said? Or is there something deeper going on that no one ever told you about? Because here's the part that will change how you see every relationship you've ever had. Ignoring advice is almost never about the advice itself. Think about that for a second. It's not about whether your words were wise. It's not about whether you were right. There is a psychological mechanism happening beneath the surface, one most people will never understand, and once you see it, you can never unsee it. The human mind does not respond to logic the way you think it does. When someone is emotionally invested in a decision, the brain doesn't hear your advice as help, it hears it as a threat to their identity, to who they believe they are. And the moment the brain detects a threat, it shuts down, it deflects. It finds every reason in the world to dismiss what you're saying. So you weren't ignored because you were wrong. You were ignored because you were right. And that right there should disturb you. But it gets deeper. There's a concept in psychology called psychological reactance. The moment someone feels like they're being told what to do, something inside them rebels. Not because they don't trust you, but because autonomy is one of the deepest human needs, and the mind will fight to protect it even when it's self-destructive. Which means the harder you push, the further they pull away. How many times have you pushed harder thinking more explanation would fix it? How many times did you repeat yourself, get frustrated, maybe even plead? And how did that go? Exactly. There's a better way, and most people never learn it. The truly influential, the ones whose advice gets taken, they don't lecture, they don't reason, they don't explain. They do something far more subtle, far more powerful. They make the other person feel like the decision is theirs. They plant the seed, ask the right question, create a silence where the other person sits with the truth placed quietly in front of them. And in that silence, something shifts. The resistance drops. The walls come down. And the advice doesn't feel like advice anymore. It feels like something they discovered on their own. That is the difference between influence and noise. But there's one more layer that most people completely miss. Sometimes, and this is the hardest to accept, people ignore your advice because they are not yet ready to change. No amount of skill, no strategy, no perfectly chosen words will reach someone who isn't there yet, because growth has a timing, and you cannot force someone into a season they haven't reached. So what do? You give it once, clearly, honestly, without desperation, and then you let go. Not because you don't care, but because holding on to the need for them to listen is slowly poisoning you. Your peace cannot be held hostage by someone else's choices. The wisest people in any room are not the ones who give the most advice. They're the ones who know when to speak, how to speak, and when to step back and let life be the teacher. Because sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is stop trying to save them and trust that they will find their own way. Now you know why they ignored you. The question is, what are you going to do with that knowledge? If this hit different, drop a comment below. Share it with someone who needs to hear it today. And if you're not subscribed yet, do it now. Because what's coming next on this channel is something you absolutely will not want to miss.